everyone. Welcome to our Ashes of Creation live stream. What are you doing?
And so we've begun.
Stephen is self-conscious about...
We
recently
drilled a hole in the table.
In the hole, we recently drilled holes in the table so we could pull cables through them because Zimmerman's awesome and he's been making our studio really nice. Steven.
I'm sorry, it's on
we'll
screen.
go through introductions first. If you're new to our stream, we have a lot of fun here. Obviously, we work at a game company that's, we try our best.
Yes.
I'm Margaret Crone. I'm the community marketing lead here, and I will be acting as your host for the live stream, wrangling these people in.
Yay.
Mostly Steven.
Wow! That was some shade.
I'll be you an umbrella. No,
Okay.
who are you?
Ella.
I am Stephen Sharif, creative director at Intrepid Studios.
Yeah.
And I'm Jeffrey Bard, lead designer of stuff.
Yay!
Yeah.
Lead designer.
Sorry,
of
my
design.
brain's like over
You're
here
like
somewhere.
lead
Many
designer
designs.
of stuff. Oh goodness, we all need our coffee. That's what honestly
that's
needs
true.
to happen.
This is water though.
I like the label on that one.
So today we are going to be covering a new video. We're going to be releasing our next Dev Diary series video, and this is going to be talking about our building technology. So we'll be sharing that video, and then we'll be talking a little bit more in depth about it on our end and answering any of your questions. So get your questions in chat as you're watching the video, and lovely Toast will be grabbing all of those and tossing them our way. We'll try to get through as many questions as we possibly can so that we can answer those as we move forward. But we wanted to cover some quick update things, some things that we know that the community has been asking about. Obviously, the first thing you're always going to ask is dates. We do not have any more dates for you right now. As we said before, we're trying to be really conscious about that, and we'll release dates as we're feeling very comfortable about them. We want to have everything, QA tested and ready to rock and roll. But we will talk a little bit about some of the progress that we've had. So first things first is code redemption. I know all y'all have been asking about that. Currently, that is in progress. They're working on it. I don't have a complete ETA for you yet, but soon TM. Same with forum renames. We are actually, last night we did a thing internally that we are trying to work on the back end, and we just have a couple more steps on our end to wrap that up, and then we will give you probably a 24-hour notice for renames. We'll be posting that on our support channel, so that's AOC support on our Twitter channel. We'll also post it in Discord and let people know on the forums. I think we're going to have like a ticker that goes off, and it's just going to be up there all the time that will let you know that 24 hours until this thing is happening. So we'll let you all know in advance that you can grab your names quickly. We know there's a lot of people who are they want their names or they haven't posted yet because they don't want the name that's currently attached to their account there. So that's fine. So hopefully that answers those questions. Now we get to the fun stuff that you actually really, really want to know about, which is the progress of the MMO. So let's start with that. We did some really fun tests recently that we've been working on because we've been putting, our PI members know some secret stuff, but we've been talking to them about some of the things that we've been working on, and we're not going to talk about all of those things, but I know y'all wanted to share some things.
Some interesting thing happened last week.
Yeah, it was kind of a milestone.
Yes, a little bit of a milestone. The first ever mayoral election for a node occurred last week.
Yeah, and it was successful, went off without a hitch.
Yes.
The system works.
Yay!
It just took a little bit for the mayor to show up.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, wait, what?
No?
Which mayor?
Remember when you were trying to get the mayor to show up and he wouldn't show up?
Oh, you're talking
he
about...
was
So there's a couple things. So the mayor was cool, but what wasn't cool was his helper, the guy who you talked to kind of do all the mayoral thing.
Magistrate. That's who it is, yeah.
He did not want to show up, so we got that.
So basically, just so you guys are aware, the magistrate is an NPC that's placed within a node, and he contains most of the accessible services and systems, such as the tax raids and the questing and the building systems,
Launching
all that kind of stuff,
caravans.
launching the caravan, stuff like that. That NPC didn't spawn.
Yeah.
I think initially
He was a jerk.
He was a jerk.
He was being difficult.
But we fixed it, and Jeff fixed it, and it did show up.
Round
good
of
to go.
applause.
Yes. It was
So we elected a mayor. The mayor launched a caravan. We escorted that caravan across the map.
It crashed.
The caravan crashed. It flipped on its head, and then we started.
Well, to be fair, he was driving the caravan off of
he was driving a
Like a
gigantic
maniac.
boulder.
No, it wasn't boulder.
Was it a boulder?
It was a rib cage. And,
Oh, right. It was
one
a
of the
giant
rib
rib cage.
cages, yeah.
and then he just kind of got stuck, and then it fell. and then physics went crazy,
Right.
and we started kicking it across the map like a soccer ball.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
It's fun. Everything's fun.
It was good times. Yeah, hopefully we will when it gets a little bit more polished and presentable, we'll show you guys some footage of this stuff very soon.
Yeah, and I think
Still some things to fix.
Yes.
one of the things that I would like to do is I'm going to have some more video footage for you on live streams. That's something that we wanted to do. I actually wanted to have the caravan on this one, but we want to polish some bugs before we
Make
do
sure we
that.
have a good solid driver.
Yeah. And a better driver maybe. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. So yeah, there's some cool stuff that we're in the works, and we're going to show you all the progress of those as we go forward with them. So I've been excited.
Yeah.
Anything else you all want to share about maybe where we're at? I know we've been hiring some new people who have been helping make some more content.
Yep.
Our game is huge, and we've been trying to put as much content in.
Speaking of which, actually, we brought on board a new character artist, Jen C. She is great.
She's fantastic.
And actually, she just finished, I believe, the base mesh for the Dawnbreaker, which will hopefully be showing very soon for those of you guys in Kickstarter that have the Dawnbreaker. When did the Dawnbreaker become accessible? Was it? I think it was the Braver of Worlds. I think the Braver of Worlds and above, you all have access to the Dawnbreaker skin for the mount. So as soon as that is retopped and finished, we'll probably show some Dawnbreaker.
We're going to be showing, we have a few mounts that we're going to be showing details about, and like 3D models and also armor pieces for some of them. So stay tuned, as well as a little bits of lore. So we'll have some articles that are going to go out with that. I know people have been asking about those type of things, so we'll be getting more. And we had our regalia armor, our lion regalia armor that came out, and we had little lore blurbs, and people were really excited about that. They're like, is this a regalia that we can, or is this an order that we can be part of? People were asking, or is it more of just an order that is part of the world?
Yeah, I believe I answered that on one of the previous streams, is that there will be quest lines that allow you to access the Iron Lion society and organization, and you'll be able to achieve in-game some of the cosmetics that represent this organization and don it on your character.
Yeah.
Cool.
Looks like we got a little bit of stuttering on the stream.
Stuttering.
Apparently the audio is coming through fine.
Okay, cool.
That's good.
Well, at least you can hear us. That's all. You don't need to see my face anyway.
Weird video issues and no audio issues.
I know what's happening.
We've gone through the other side.
If you haven't noticed, though, we do have a new camera, so hopefully we're looking HD minus the stuttering. So the next thing, I guess, if you guys don't want to toss anything else out there for the MMO, we can talk a little bit about APOC and the current state of APOC as well.
We also had the destruction mechanics and the character code that combines you with your caravan complete as well in last week's internal test, moving towards Alpha 1. That was cool because you could target and attack the caravan and destroy it. We had the wreckage system, getting the loot from it implemented. What else do we do with that? We had merchant systems up and running and collecting
all the vendors, buying and selling goods.
Yep, that was all yay.
Yeah,
yeah, a lot of progress.
A lot of good fundamental progress, right? It's starting to really feel like an MMO now. So it's exciting. It's like super cool to see kind of where we're at right now. Things are really starting to come together.
And obviously our goal here is trying to move us to the Alpha 1 position where we're able to have you all hop in and then you get to break everything. No, just kidding.
Well, I mean, you probably will.
Yeah, you probably will.
She's not kidding.
But yeah, I mean, we want to make it so that it is cohesive and has some of the systems that we really want to test out in Alpha 1, which I think is going to be really exciting and fun. I know. He's already thinking.
What?
Sorry.
He's laughing at you.
Oh, me? Why? That's a good one.
No. It was the you were like almost out of frame.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
The phone is too far away from you.
I'm so sorry. I'll just move it here. Okay, go ahead.
He really wants to see what y'all are saying in chat.
I'm trying to see what people are saying so we can talk.
I don't even know how you can read that. It's like
I have very
his eyes of the eagle.
Great eyesight. Not close up.
It says the guy wearing glasses. I have really great eyesight.
Without the glasses, I can't see anything. But with them, I can see.
His vision is unparalleled.
Yes.
Oh,
thank you, CM Shays. Love you too, buddy.
Okay.
See.
So, someone else calls Shays something else.
Shazi?
Yeah, or Shaz.
Shazay?
Instead of Shays.
Shaz.
Tell us which one it is.
All right,
so let's move on to APOC. We talked a little bit about the MMO, and obviously one of the things that I want to do is start playing some footage of different things that we have on the live streams in the future, so stay tuned for some of that action. what about APOC? Where are we at, and what do we want to say on that front? 'Cause
on APOC, we are currently QAing a lot of the issues that we were seeing during December testing and January testing. A lot of the back end stuff is wrapping up.
Yep,
Getting finalized. So that's very good.
We're like in the last 10% of it. And
Yeah.
obviously the last 10% usually takes the longest. But it's just buttoning up a lot of stuff, bringing up the polish level.
Polishing that player, the hit detection, the input feeling, and as well as UI. There's a lot of stuff on all those fronts that need to be solidified, as well as even some of the loops and positions and the percentage ratings of each of those things. And we're kind of
all that stuff is going to be adjusted, readjusted, adjusted some more. Lots of adjustments.
Yes, we've gotten a lot of great feedback, so thank you all for all of that. And internally, we've gotten some great feedback as well, and people are working very hard. It's actually been really exciting seeing everything that everyone's been working on, not only on the MMO front, but as well, we've got so much happening in the office. It's a little nuts.
It's fun though. It's that kind of exciting,
nuts.
Ooh, we're getting somewhere kind of fun.
Yeah, it's like you're bewildered nuts, right? There's so much going on. You're just
bewildered nuts.
Sometimes it feels like last week it felt like that a little
Last week it totally felt like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know what my name was.
Steven was posting photos of us late night. I saw the one with Jeff was
yeah.
And everyone else was hunched over their desk.
That was 1 a.m. and Jeff was just where am I?
I don't know.
What's happening?
This is my bed.
We haven't been doing those a lot. It's just sometimes we have a deadline that we're trying to meet. So we
take our milestones very seriously.
Our milestones,
yes.
Yeah. So I think that kind of covers most of everything that we've got going on the back end. So giving you all an update on everything on that front. Let's get into today's live stream. We're going to play a video for you first and foremost so you guys can check that out. While you're watching that, toss any questions that you have in chat, and Miss Toast will be tossing them to us, and we will try to answer as many as we possibly can in this 45-minute period that we've got. So throw them at us.
Bewildered nuts.
Bewildered.
I'm Devin LaFontaine. My job title is Senior Environment Artist at Intrepid Studios. Most of what I do here is focused on natural environments, so terrain, trees, grasses, that kind of stuff. I also deal a fair bit amount with lighting and also technical kind of process stuff that we do in the background to support the whole art team. The housing tool was designed mostly originally as a way to make houses quickly and make them run really well. And we identified some ways in Apocalypse that we could have improved the way the buildings were set up. And in doing all of the performance improvements that we ended up doing near the end of that project, I learned a lot of things about how we can improve that going forward. So the housing tool is focused a lot on that, and also making it easy for the whole team to build a bunch of buildings, because we're going to need many buildings for the nodes.
Ashes of Creation is a very large and ambitious project. We have 9 different races that need to be represented from an architectural standpoint in each of the nodes. As players move throughout the world and establish these cities, you're going to see manifested in real time each of these cultures in some way, shape, or form. In order for us to accomplish the creation of these vast cities and multitudes of buildings, what Devin's been working on with this tool really allows the artist to swap in different modular pieces to create diverse and unique buildings within the node system. Now, obviously, this tool doesn't accommodate all of the features we want to see from an architectural standpoint in the cities. There are still going to be need for one-offs and custom created assets that represent perhaps the central building within a city or the unique social organizations that exist. These will still need to be completed separate from a modular set.
So one of the things that I learned when building all the POIs in Apocalypse was the quantity of items that we had to render. And it was pretty expensive, and there's a lot of technology in Unreal that helps reduce that we wanted to start using more for the MMO. So the housing tool is very heavily reliant on some of that tech. So the first thing it had to do was be performant, so it could render lots and lots of buildings pretty easily. It also had to be easy to manage for the art team and the artists building the pieces that comprise a finished house. And it also had to be easy for anyone on the team to use. The designers could use it and not really have any headaches or any confusion as to what they're doing. The one thing I really like about working on these games is watching players discover them. So I'm really eager for the community to hop into the game and see all the stuff we've been doing, because it's really fun making it, and there's a lot of cool stuff that we want to share.
One of the paramount goals at Intrepid is to create the ultimate immersive experience where players, as they explore and search the far reaches of Vera, they get to experience this vast diversity and culture through the different cities that they'll come across. Really putting the players in the story, making them feel a part of the world. That's one of our primary objectives.
Well, we hope that you all enjoyed that, and Devin did an amazing job. He was very nervous. I feel like
Thanks, Devin.
Everyone's always so nervous, and I'm like, it's gonna be fine.
I
You're
thought he
gonna
did
be
great.
He's the
Yeah.
chillest cat in the world.
Yeah.
People constantly are like, he's like Bob Ross, because he's like has that really like chill voice, you know.
Oh,
He's a
yeah.
very
Calm.
calming presence.
Yeah, but he speaks well, I think, and you know, he loves what he does, and
He's damn good at it.
yeah, I mean, looking at the environments that we have right now and seeing how beautiful they are, I think he does a really good job with what he does. Obviously, we wouldn't have him here otherwise.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to work with Devin for like a really long time, like 13 years.
Yeah, you guys were at
So-
SOE together, right?
Yeah. So he's good people. So let's talk a little bit about the building technology tool. And if you all have questions in chat, you can go ahead and toss them in there. You can ask us other questions. We'll try to answer those as well. But we did talk a little bit about the MMO earlier prior to that. So I don't know if you want to start or if you want to start.
Sure. I mean, so one of the great things about, that tool and what the environment team, is creating in Ashes of Creation. I mean, you guys see the environments within the game, right? And that's all in-game footage, everything you're seeing there, or it's an editor, right? The building of the actual asset
Which is
itself,
effectively in-game.
Which is effectively in-game, correct. We definitely are pushing the limits, I think, and Unreal Engine is a great engine to help us do that. What we want to be able to do is make sure that we can create in a timely manner, all the necessary assets that have to go into creating these nodes, these cities, right? And we don't want them to feel like a lot of the other games that we've played as players where we see the same asset over and over again, right? And that kind of gets unimmersive, when you see the same building over again. And we understand why it's done. I mean, in the past, there wasn't quite the... there may have been the technology to achieve what we're achieving now, but there wasn't the time or just general understanding on how to accomplish that, a while ago. Now we can, with, the expertise of people on our team, create a tool that's capable of allowing the artist to quickly come up with a wide range of buildings to fill these
And
cities
easily
with.
adjust them too.
Right.
Or if we get new assets, being able to plop them in wherever they feel necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, we're building a big world, and we're building a world that grows on its own, right? And so we need lots and lots of assets to fill that world. And if each artist has to create, their own stuff from scratch, from the ground up every single time, we'll be here until 2030, right? Like that would be how we'd have to do it. But technology like this allows us to just pop things out at a really high quality level just as quickly as we can, which is, it's how we get to a timely launch and how we get to, kind of our goals.
Yeah, and part of that actually, as it relates to a player and housing that might exist on freeholds or within the node, we can take elements of this tool, this tech, and we can allow the players to play with specific constraints, right, within the building systems that they may have. Change out the windows, change out the roof, change out the gutters along the sides, the crown molding inside the interior. Change
Doors,
out exactly.
yeah.
Change out aspects that kind of make it unique and allow you to customize something that kind of represents your specific style, or just sets you apart from the norm, right?
You can do your own interior decorating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in regards to that, I think a lot of people do already have some skins that they've either purchased or things like that. And I don't know if you all want to talk about a little bit about how that can integrate into these, or will those just take over the entire skin of the entire house plot?
Right now, they would take over the entire skin of the house.
They're not separate little
they're
pieces.
not individual modular pieces. They're not built that way. And again, that's sort of so we can get that effect, right? Like, you know, a necromancer's crypt looks a very specific way, and we want it to look as a very specific way. So
Now that's not to
I just
say
wanted to
that
ask the question.
that's not to say now that, you know, the environment team, as they're building the necromancer's crypt, that they're not going to compartmentalize pieces of it that could then be
reused somewhere else.
Right? You know, that's kind of the approach on a modular system, where when you're creating an asset, you're not one-offing the entire asset. You're creating it to the confines of the modular system so that you can reuse those elements elsewhere that won't represent a necromancer's crypt again, but instead may use the window seal of it, or may use, you know, the gargoyle on top of it, you know, something like that.
And when you go back and you look at the video, and we'll see that coming up here soon as well, is you see all the pieces that Devin was panning over. He was kind of showing off some of the differences and like all these little tiny pieces that are all making these complex systems. Like right here, you're watching him build, you know, and he's adjusting the roofing and adding little windows in the shingles. Like there's all kinds of little tiny intricate things that he's doing very, very quickly, and allowing us to have so much variety. I mean, we have so many nodes that need to be built, and especially if we want you to make it feel like every single time you go and create a new, you know, city, that it's different, that this is accomplishing that goal.
Right. I mean, I guess you'd want to think about, as a player, when was the last time you played an MMORPG that had 9 unique, distinct cultures, races in it, right?
Yeah.
I personally can't think of many.
I can think of a few. But...
I can think of a couple, but not to the degree I think of distinction that we're aiming for between our 9 races, right?
Yeah.
That's really.
Here's the panning over of them.
Yeah. So that, I mean, what you're seeing here is the modular set, right? So these are the individual components that make up the modular capabilities of this tool, and once you plug those into their specific categories, you can swap them out with other components. Yeah.
Cool. And of course, continue to toss those questions in the chat, because we're going to start going through them. I feel like there needs to be more questions. Bring them to us.
Bring them to us.
But yeah, I just love seeing. I could watch somebody. As somebody who plays a lot of Sims too, like this stuff.
It is super like meditative too.
Yeah.
To watch being built. It's like really satisfying.
Yeah. I guess. Any other things that players will experience, like how are they going to experience this beyond seeing buildings in the world? And obviously player housing will have an element of this, but not as intricate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's really more about, I mean, this tool is mainly for us to develop the game, right? Mm-hmm. So what this tool allows us to do is have tons and tons of different variants, right? Where, you know, we work from a base tile set basically, and then create a ton of different things. So the longer that this tool works and the you know, the more we can pull out of it, the more variance and the more interesting things you'll be seeing in the world.
And one of the things I think people don't think about is performance, and how having all these unique pieces affect performance. And so that was one of the main key goals with this tool, is in order to allow us to have this variety, but also still make sure that the game performance is still really good for you all, so that you can play it on ultra graphics and not feel like it's your CPU's like help and sounding like that PC over there.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys
can't hear that.
That's a really great point, Mark. Like there is, you know, when you're creating one-off assets, each one of those one-off assets kind of needs to be loaded into memory like on its own, right?
Yeah.
But since these are all sort of tileable tile sets, they kind of all share the same, they share the same.
What do we say?
I don't know.
Material,
No,
texture.
it's the same resources, right? So it's the same resources to create, you know, 12 different houses with this tile set is about the same as it would be for one of those houses. So, you know, when you're running into a new area and you've got like, you know, 100 buildings being loaded at the same time, because they all, you know, depend on the same resources, it's all really quick. Whereas if it were 100 different unique sets with different unique textures, all that stuff would make your system chug.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of this too is, what you're seeing here is Devin is creating this, but we also have a process that lets it automatically do that, which isn't as cool to see, obviously, but procedurally creating some of these houses, right? So that it's not just someone going in and tweaking every little bit and piece. So it's procedurally creating a house, and then they can go back and tweak
Adjust
things
stuff
and
and make it,
things, right?
artistic.
So that allows our team to work really quickly. And one of the things that Devin had mentioned, and I think was one of the key things, is that it's not just artists going to be using this tool. This is going to be our design team who are not artists, who don't have the expertise in the tools that our artists do have. And
I can't use ZBrush.
and being able to create something from that.
Yeah, no, and it's like, I need a one-off house for a quest, and I need it in this area, and I need it to look a certain way. Hey, environment team, can you build me a house? No, we don't have time. We're working on these other things.
That's what he thinks you sound like, environment team.
And then I can go in and be like, okay, I'm going to make my own house, and I make it, and it looks cool, and it takes me 10 minutes, and I've got a house, and then I can put it in the world, and then I can use it, which is really cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of another thing to think about, the reasoning behind this. And it's been really cool seeing how I think Devin and Tad are really, you have a lot of people who are creative artists, but also have like this logical, systematic background and mindset. And I think watching them utilize these aspects of themselves and creating tools has been really exciting for me personally, getting to see them do something they're really passionate about and thinking about the longevity of the project and how much further we have to go,
Right.
and how quickly we need to
One of
make
the
that
awesome
come
things
to fruition.
obviously is seeing, these guys with their vast experience, Bacon, Tad, Devin, Nate, Ryan, Tristan, they all have an incredible amount of experience, and being able to come together and jive well with each other and move this project forward from just a high visual fidelity standpoint in the environments is something that we've loved to see. And it's great to go back in time and look at, a couple of years ago what things look like and then where they are now, and then imagine where they're going to be at launch, right? Yeah. That's a cool thing. You guys are seeing, images of the in-game world right now, and you're saying, this looks great, the graphics are amazing. But imagine when we launch, how much further that's going to become. That's the fun thing. I can't wait to see.
I love watching the baby grow.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
I noticed. By the way, for those of you who did not get a chance to a couple of weeks ago, I did do a few rounds of interviews.
Yes.
With a few of our content creators, Agilos, DCN Network, Jalon and the Paradox, the Golden Feather, and Simurg. You guys can jump on our Twitter at Ashes of Creation.
We have the Ashes of Creation Twitter.
Oh yeah, that's right. Margaret
cool.
managed to actually get our Ashes of Creation Twitter. So
Yay.
Congratulations, that was cool.
Oh, it's like a back and forth with trademarking people at Twitter. I'm like, give us the name.
But you can go on our Twitter at Ashes of Creation, and you can go back a couple of weeks ago, and you'll see links to those interviews. There's a lot of information there, a lot of questions, great questions, by the way, from the community. Props to our content creators for going out and grabbing those questions from the community. They were, a refreshing. It was very refreshing for me to hear those questions and not a lot of the repeat questions that we obviously get, on a lot of the threads, which is okay. Repeat questions have to happen. There are new people that come in.
We try different ways. Like some streams we gather Q&A, some streams we want to just get Twitch Q&A. So we're going to kind of play around and see what we find is good. But do want variety.
Yeah.
The content creators, we are going to be doing some more stuff like that in the future. So stay tuned. Probably try to spread the love to other content creators too.
Sure.
So
my favorite question I think that I got asked was, besides video games, what do you like to do in your spare time?
Was that on the Golden Feather?
It was on the Golden Feather.
You were just like caught up. You were like,
My answer was board games. I couldn't think of anything, honestly. But anyways, that's a lot of fun. So if you guys have a chance, you didn't check it out, go check it out.
Yeah, it's on our Twitter. I think we put it on our forums as well, and Facebook, and I think I even posted on Reddit. So all the links should be there for you to easily grab. And I think I even put them into a playlist. So yeah, there's lots of ways for you to grab those interviews and check out what Stephen had to say. There were he went into some nitty-gritty about certain things. Everyone had a variety of things that they wanted to talk about, so that was cool. All right, let's get to the questions here. Make sure that you're tossing them in chat. Looks like I have a good amount now, but we still need more. This is not enough. I don't think you understand, man. We can get through some questions. All right, first we have from Cadwin was wondering, will there be certain unique traits we can choose and obtain in-game? For example, birth sign, background, like a scholar or outlaw, etc. And so this like reminds me of D&D. It would be nice if they give small amounts of boost. For example, if someone has a trait of intelligence, they get +2 int. That's kind of OP though.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know about the power traits. I mean, obviously there are going to be progressive traits that you can accomplish, right?
Yeah.
Through building out your character and progressing. But I think more to the point, there's going to be a lot of subtle things that you can achieve from a role play standpoint, to better identify your character and kind of customize it. That's kind of the intricacies we want to have available in the game in some systems.
We want like your identity to kind of be based around things like religion, the node that you belong to, the race that you belong to, the organizations you belong to. So all those things will kind of add up to create kind of a background for your character, but it probably won't take the form in the way that you're talking about it specifically, which is like, the D&D kind of like, this is my history before I came to the world.
Yeah.
Right.
What I've seen in some other games do is they actually just have like, it doesn't affect you stat-wise, but they'll give you like a sheet where you can write your own background story and people can click on it and read it.
Oh, we'll certainly have
which is
that.
Cool.
That will be
which I thought was really fun. I think DDO did that.
Yeah.
I really loved it.
And we, our plans, even from a web account standpoint, is to have those viewable, if you should choose, for other people to kind of
On
see
your profile.
in your profile. Exactly.
Oh man. Game to web stuff just stresses me out. I'm like having anxiety just thinking about it.
No,
like
it's
I want
great.
it, but I'm also stressed out.
That's
about
one of my favorite things in another game I had played was when people could go see my character on the web, right? And take a look, obviously, at my
on your mobile
achievements or
phone
on my
and looking
mobile,
at
whatever. That was a lot of fun. I liked that.
Yeah. It is nice. Also being able to link it to people too. Like when you're applying for a guild, right? Sometimes they have like
This is who I am.
requirements,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So our next question is from Diggs. We get to hear from Diggs often. A clarification asked for on the forums is whether the building's mayor/governments choose to build appear in between stages, or if they only appear after the node pops to the next stage.
They appear in the stage that you construct them in. So let's say we're stage 3 and we're building a library. It will appear in that stage if you guys fulfill the requirements for building.
Right. Yeah. So basically, the mayor makes this choice. There's a period of time between that choice being chosen and it actually appearing as a building site, right? And that building site will then have some specifications and requirements on behalf of the populace, the citizens, and even outside non-citizens, if they want to participate, to achieve construction.
Right.
Yeah. And that all occurs within
But yeah,
the
you
stage.
don't have to wait for it to go to the next level to see the results of those buildings.
To upgrade to the next stage of each specific building. For instance, like the college moves up until it's a university, right? At the different stages. But that is specific to a stage.
So
that would be different.
That's the main building. The main building is different. That's not a mayor-elected construction site. The main building will automatically progress with each stage development.
Okay.
I think the question was more in reference to like the mayor has choices on building sites of like specific like
if I'm
build
gonna build a shop
apartments
here.
or build a shop or whatever.
Gotcha.
Then he can
Library
elect
is a bad example.
that construction site to be.
Perfect. So the mayor would be the one.
Right.
Good question. We are going to have an article that will go over governments and citizenship. Both of those will be separate because there's just so much content within each of those that they have to be a separate blog post. But those will be a separate blog post after we get through. I think we're probably going to go through all the node types first. So we're going to have economic for next, and then we'll have divine and military as well coming up. So, there's lots of stuff coming still with lots of new stuff.
Yay.
McCrackasaur wants to know how much Hey, I don't name these people.
I like it.
How much creativity can players have in their own building creation, or will it be auto-generated based off of the nodes?
So if you're talking
node
about
based,
freeholds,
yeah.
Which is what I assume you're talking about, there's a decent amount of it. Again, the whole freehold system is about sort of
land.
your plot of land. It's not a housing system, right? It's like a building system. And you get to slot and play Tetris and try to find good synergies between the different buildings you have with kind of the end result that you want. If you want it to be a role-playing area, or if you want it to be, a processing area, or if you want to build a factory. Like,
exactly. I was
those
just
are all
going to say,
things
like,
that-
you don't actually have to build a house. You could decide to build, like, I want to be a blacksmith. I want to be the blacksmith, and that's my main focus. So all the things that I'm going to build are going to help make my blacksmithing better, right?
And I'll have my house in the apartments of that node or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But from a customization standpoint, right? Like part of what this building tech you just saw in the video is the movement towards us allowing players to customize specifics within those buildings. That
So
we-
my
Right,
blacksmith
so-
might look different than your blacksmith,
Exactly.
right?
And
Yeah.
give you that identity, not just from, this is Margaret's freehold, but from like, oh, that's Margaret's blacksmithery, right? Like I can tell this building is unique because of the accents that she's chosen from, the potential customization on these
Yes.
buildings.
I will
The
have
actual
Margaret's
layout
armory.
of it will remain the
Right,
same,
yes.
right? The layout won't change because the layout's important for the synergies to work together. But in terms of like the detail work and the furniture you place and kind of the wall paneling that you have and all that stuff will be swappable.
Awesome. I'm going to spend so much time doing that. It's going to be great. And then I'm going to make armor and murder everyone. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Rabbit Games wants to know, will there be any race crossover for buildings? Basically, a way for architects to show that a node is made up of as many elves or as dwarves. Ooh, interesting. So I think each node is going to be
The node
specific to a race.
The node itself will be specific to a race. One race will be ascendant, and that will be the kind of culture of that
The
race.
ascendant race.
The outside, like again, the freeholds that you're building outside can be, accented based. You don't have to stay within your race in terms of accenting. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So yes, you could make that kind of give the feel of it, but the node itself always looks to one race as being that ascendant.
Right.
But your freehold, you can choose what you want
Right.
it to look
Yes.
like. It does not have to match the node.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. And you could have a crypt there if
If you
that's
want.
what you choose.
A crypt.
It will be very interesting. Our next question is from Crystal Surface, who wants to know, are there any plans for maybe giving access to the building creation tool to other users? Maybe the community can also do some individual designs which can be used by Intrepid. I'm thinking of community building challenges, for example. I think I did something like this at another company that I worked at.
That would be cool. I mean, it obviously it requires us,
That would be really hard to do.
playerizing the tool, right? So taking it out of the editor and putting it into a module, a module that the
Its
player
own,
can download its own, kind of like a character creation suite.
Its own app.
It would
Yeah.
have to be a building creation suite. If there is time and there is, interest from the community, which I imagine there would be, it would be great to have.
Mhm.
I think it would be really cool. You could do contests with it and create buildings, and we could use those buildings in game and stuff like that. That'd be awesome. But right now, that's not on the roadmap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it might
It
also
would
be,
take some doing to turn
Yes.
that into that.
And I also think like the housing stuff could also change as we progress down the years too.
Oh,
So
for sure.
maybe down the line, like the first thing you get is like you're getting all these pieces and
Right.
putting them together like Legos, right? But later down the line, maybe it is you're moving walls around and stuff like that down the line. I think, but obviously that would take a lot more
Yeah.
programming around.
I mean, so when we're talking about like what our plans are, we have two different categories. We have plans for launch, right? And we have plans for post-launch.
yeah, future.
Plans for post-launch, something like that would be great.
Yeah.
Additionally, I mean, from a creation standpoint, one of my great desires is to incorporate a creature character suite, basically, where summoners and or animal husbandry or pets, you can customize the look of your creature. That would be great, and so that way you can be identified uniquely by, I know that this is this guy's horse. Like I've seen that guy before. His hooves are like 5 times the size of the horse. No, I'm just kidding. But like, there's something
But
that'd be
why?
great. But there's
Giant hooves.
but
Better for smashing
the idea there is
What
to
happened to your horse?
give the character as much uniqueness and customization that's possible, and that won't be in place for launch, but that's stuff we're looking post launch.
And I mean, we've been thinking about it with, for instance, griffins and hippogriffs and like how they're similar, but they have different aspects of them of different animals, right? So I think that's like a good example of how animals can
Take
mesh
this head
together.
over there and put it on that
Yeah.
body and give it human hands and 10,000 human hands and it crawls on the ground.
No.
No?
That'd be awesome.
Wouldn't it be awesome?
No. Okay, let's get on to the
10,000
next
human
question because I
hands.
don't like this. It's making me
10,000 human baby hands.
Oh, that'd be creepy.
Okay,
They're corrupt.
L Symphony wants to know, so we can or can't build houses from scratch?
You cannot build houses from scratch.
At least not from launch.
You can use pieces to accent them. You can change a lot of stuff about it and sort of like how it's built, but the buildings themselves will have their own footprint.
Yeah, you'll get a blueprint that you can utilize that you put on your plot. Yes, and then you can accent that with different other buildings and attributes and things of that sort. Hopefully that answers your question. Christia, I don't know if I'm saying your name right, wants to know what housing/decor editing features will be available in Ashes of Creation. Specifically, one, will players be out? I'm going to ask each of these separate. Will players be able to rotate decor in all 3 directions?
Yes.
They should be.
Yes.
That would be weird if we didn't.
Right.
2, will players be able to free place items and enter specific coordinations on the XYZ plane, including the ability to place decor up in the air without anything underneath them? Ooh.
Probably not. I don't know about the XYZ.
It would be nice if it could.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's a different.
In EQ2, I'm going to let you know, people built some crazy stuff out of weird things.
Oh yeah.
Like they built shitters.
Oh my gosh!
Shutters.
Margaret!
They also
Do we
they
have
also
the
built shitters,
adult
so-
setting on for the stream?
They also built toilets though, but they built
Wow!
like shutters out of like weird pieces,
Oh
like
my
chopsticks, and like
gosh.
they put plates like
Oh, yeah,
at a
no,
weird
those guys were
angle. Like,
super creative.
I'm just like, what?
Super creative with their toilets.
Yeah.
The toilet.
I was talking about shutters.
Sure you were.
Oh, no. Oh my gosh. Okay, next question. So our answer is yes, right?
So yes
Or maybe for the other
Yes
one.
for the free placements. We don't know about the XYZ.
Floating objects. Makes Steven feel uncomfortable, apparently.
Yeah. Wow.
No, I'm just kidding.
No. I think it's great.
So-
I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, it's just it should be pretty doable, but it's just about like what the knockoff effects of that are.
And you'll have a max height ceiling on your plot land too, right? Like you can't go beyond that on your free.
There'll be confinements. Too.
Yeah. And then our third question here is, will players be able to scale the size of decor? And if so, will size scaling be limited to a specific size range, like in Rift, or have an essential unlimited? I think they're all specific, right?
Yeah,
Because
they'll be
that's
specific.
part of the
Scaling
Tetris
gets
thing.
weird. Weird stuff happens when you scale objects beyond what they're supposed to be at. It's something we'll have to look into. We'll certainly explore that
Because that
we can
changes
get-
textures and animations too on objects if they.
and we can get more use out of objects if we can scale them. But obviously, there definitely will be constraints on them. There will be things that we don't want to go beyond a certain size.
I think internally we can do that.
Yeah,
For sure, because I've
super easy.
messed around with some stuff before.
It's just a matter of like making sure
I've
that
made
it
a
all looks
giant
good and
creature
all
once.
looks.
Yeah, we want to make sure that
Yeah.
things make sense from an immersion standpoint as well. Like, we want these assets to exist within certain confines so that they represent what they're intended to.
Well, and my thought was like the way that the freeholds work in general is that they're very much like your job is to put things in a space. So if things got bigger than that space, then you would not be able to place them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because the power will change them too.
And we also have to worry about collision and all that stuff.
Yeah. So our next question here is from Jay Alabaster asking, will the player stalls, kiosks, be modular and customizable for the player?
There will definitely be flags for items you can have represented at your kiosk.
Like on the counter.
Like
and
on the counter, potions, scrolls, weapons, and armor, shields, stuff like that. So you can kind of, it's a great indicator also for prospective buyers as they're moving through the market area. They look at kiosks and they can say, oh, I know they're selling weapons over here or they're selling armor or whatnot. Those are definitely going to be components that we want to have flaggable for the player.
We also have to keep in mind that all this stuff is in the open world and we have to be a little bit careful about all the stuff that we put in them.
I love it. I'm excited. Okay, Blamey wants to know, to what extent the buildings will be destructible during the siege? Completely.
So I think there's actually a video that you're going to be showing sometime in the future.
Sometime in the future, yes.
Yes,
They're finalizing some of the tech for it. I think we were wanting to tease it before, but we still have to make sure that everything
We have
works.
open
Performance,
questions.
yeah. Performance is our main thing. So if we show you something really cool, we don't want you to be like, yes, that's happening. And then we find out that performance-wise, that specific way is just not going to happen. So,
And part of that comes down to really replication of that destruction physics to other clients on the server, right? If you have to make sure that, a piece of the building that falls impacts and hits somebody, everybody needs to know where that piece is falling.
Oh my gosh, you need to be able to run. You can hear it coming down.
And if there's thousands, exactly, then it becomes a little bit of an issue. So that's something that we're working on. But so destructibility of buildings, completely destructible.
On my tombstone, got hit by a piece of rock.
Did not see it because did not replicate.
So I guess, do you want to talk any bit further about that, like how the extent of buildings being destructible? Like, what we want versus where we're currently at?
So I mean, there's two prevailing thoughts when it comes to destruction, right? The first is the way it's traditionally been done is that you have a building mesh, right, and the building has hit points, and you incrementally set a period in where you swap that mesh out for a further destructed state based on the hit point degradation that the building has. We've seen that in a lot of games we played, in Lineage 2, I remember always seeing, the side of the castle wall as it took damage. I would watch that giant mesh swap out for the new mesh that has the hole in it, right? Yeah. And that would be kind of how you would do destruction. Nowadays, what we're looking at is, and what's going to be shown in the video is something that is more indicative of real destruction, right? Where you have impact physics and, where the projectile hits the target or where the skill hits the target, actually destruction occurs.
And where you make the hole is where the hole is.
Yes.
And then when you could climb up and grapple and go into that hole,
right.
like that kind of stuff.
And at that point, there's no states at which, you're ensuring accessibility becomes a certain way. Instead, it's much more fluid, representative of real organic kind of destruction, where the players can, focus their attacks on a particular area and perhaps open a small tunnel, through earlier than they might have been able to should it be a hit point system, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of, it'll be unique based on the battle, too. Right. That's kind of the idea.
And I guess just to answer questions, a follow-up question to that I'm sure people will have is, in regards to the destruction, the entire node can be destroyed, right? And people can siege and destroy the node, and then they can also destroy freeholds that are in the area.
So the idea behind sieging is that...
we talked about it a bit.
We talked about it a bit, but just a really quick recap is that when a siege period gets declared, there's a period of time for the defender and attackers to prepare post-declaration, and then there's the siege itself. Mm-hmm. During the siege, yes, buildings can be destroyed. They can be targeted. Let's say the attackers are going to, they've decided that they're going to lose the siege. They're not going to win. So what instead they've decided to do is shift their focus on destroying essential buildings, basically. Scorched Earth kind of strategy. If we can't, have it, then neither can you kind of thing. Now it'll take time to repair. There's certain mechanics that are available post-siege where the city can rebuild. It can, put resources and materials back into those buildings, and they'll become reconstruction sites.
Really similar to the building.
Similar to the building mechanic. They'll use the same kind of tech. Until it's reconstructed, services will be disabled, NPCs won't be available. It'll hinder the growth of that city per se. This is one of the mechanisms that we want to grant players to prevent the progression of nodes, especially if they're competing with, let's say, another node or something. And then with regards to freeholds can only be attacked and destroyed should the node lose the siege. So if a node loses the siege, there's a period of time within that node's zone of influence, its purview, its territorial purview, where freeholds that exist out in the territories, they become vulnerable for a number of hours. And players can defend their freehold, and freeholds have hit points, and the individual buildings on the freeholds have hit points and whatnot, similar to the node. Mm-hmm. And then once that period of time is complete, those number of hours are done, the freehold becomes invulnerable again. Now, that freehold doesn't exist any longer under potentially under a village or higher node because its node was destroyed. There will be a grace period of a number of probably up to, depending on the size of the node that it was previously under, up to 2 weeks where a new node could spawn and they could again be under the purview of a node and be okay. If not, then the freehold will disappear. They'll save their interior decor items and they'll get the schematics back. They'll, get a portion of the materials back, and they'll be able to go lay their freehold down on a new node.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to save their layout of decor as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think some people were asking, can I just own a freehold out in the middle of nowhere? Can I be a hermit? You
cannot be a hermit. Yeah. You have to be a part of society.
You're not allowed to be a hermit.
Can somebody be a hermit?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere? Oh, no. Okay,
yeah, that's what my follow-up thing.
You could be in the middle of nowhere, though, in a node.
Our next question is also kind of relevant to this. Instead of the sieging, it's when a stage increases, and this is from Akumara198 asking, how are you going to deal with the updating node level from a town into a city in real time when the MMO is live? So I think a lot of people have actually been asking, like, what is this going to look like? So I have a city, and now it is, or I have a town, and now it's going to be built into a city. Does this happen like this, or are things slowly building? Do walls get taken? Like, how does it look to a player, right?
Currently, the way it works in
it's all real time.
Yeah, it's all real time. Currently, if you're in, let's say, the node and it advances,
it just
it checks. So first, the system checks: are you in a spot that is collision?
Is it bad?
Is it a bad spot? If you are, the system will move you to a safe area, and then the node will spawn. Now, what we'd like to do before we get into probably Alpha 2 is we'd like to convert that process into something that's a little bit more organic.
And more cinematic feeling.
Exactly,
yeah.
Right. So it makes sense, like, maybe there's, builders start to appear and like construction sites go up, and it's maybe over a period of an hour or 2 hours that this, city becomes built,
right.
kind of thing.
Yeah. But right now it's instant.
Like that.
Yeah. And it doesn't there's no lag or anything.
No, there's
like
not.
It just
No,
happens.
It's a good system.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's a very good system.
Not weird in a bad way. It's just weird.
Yeah, because you don't
It's
expect
like,
it from a
whoa.
game like this. It's like we're doing some stuff on a scale that I don't think has really been done before, which is fun.
Yeah.
Our next question, I think we have like 3 or 4, so I think we'll be able to get through all of these by the time, depending on how long we take on each of them. We've got Pod6 Gaming wanting to know, how much customization will there be for the inside of the home? Pictures, tables, vases, rugs, decorations, and will they all be crafted or looted? Ooh, I like that.
A little bit of the above, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there will be some things that you must go hunt for, and there will be some things that you can craft, and there will be some recipes that you'll have to hunt for.
Yes.
But
Can
we
make
want to
a
have
rug.
we want to have a whole variety of stuff that you can, when we talk about EQ2, right?
Yeah.
Their housing system was fantastic, and there was so much stuff to be able to well, yeah, that's it. There's so much stuff to kind of populate a house with, and really be creative, and we want to make sure that ability to be creative is something that you guys have.
I mean,
right?
One of the favorite systems that I played, and a lot of you guys know I played this game, I played Arcade, right?
Yeah, I liked Arcade.
And I loved the housing decor system in Arcade. I thought it was cool. Great, hilarious story that happened to me one time. What?
One of my favorite stories.
So I would often sit AFK in Marianople, right? And, people would drive me away on a tractor. They'd capture me with a tractor and they'd drive me off and kidnap me, right? One time I came back to I think I left my computer on that evening, as people often did, and I came back in the morning, and my character, which was previously in Marianople, I had found myself in the middle of this house, and I swear to God, there was no door in that house. There's no door or window. It was, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a developer's house or something. But there was no doors and windows. I ran around. I'm like, what? I was on my TeamSpeak. I'm telling people,
I don't think there's a building without any doors or windows. So
I'm telling you the truth. You have to ask my guild. Anyways, I think I took screenshots.
Okay.
But I was in this house running around, and I'm like, I don't know how to get out. I guess I'm just gonna open up a portal or whatever and waste a stone. This is like something I didn't necessarily want to do. Anyways, in the middle of the house there was this table. And there was a chair at the table. This is all that was in the house. There was a table and there was a chair. And on the table was a pistol. I thought it was the coolest thing.
Someone was trying to send you a message.
I know. I thought it was the coolest thing I had ever seen.
What did you do, Steven?
Oh, a lot of bad things. But I thought it was awesome. And that type of customization, people can have fun times, stories, interesting, interactions with other players.
I have a story for housing, but it's not like the same as on that front. I actually used to run a housing, like an interior decorating housing website for Vanguard Saga of Heroes. So I don't know if people, but I loved their housing because you could put like armor pieces, like your old armor pieces on like a thing. But we actually made a beer pong table with cups because you could like move cups around and stuff. And so we would do the /roll, and that's how we chose how we did the beer pong, and it was really fun.
That's cool.
But we did like a lot of stuff like that where it was just utilizing the environment.
Stuff in interesting ways, right?
Yeah.
Like we'll never think of all the different ways people can use something. We want to make sure you guys have tools to do cool stuff
There
like
were
that.
people
We'll have to make an ale pong table.
We will.
Yeah.
That'll be one of our parlor games.
Yeah, that'd be great. Ale pong.
Okay, we got to move on to the next question. Sorry, we get a little too into it. Our next question is from Shoxer22 asking, are there any buffs or advantages for having a house / building? And kind of, not buffs, but like advantages, kind of.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Because you can do stuff.
in order to, like, you know, be a successful processor, right? Like, you're going to want to have some kind of industry on your freehold, right? And the freehold is what kind of allows you to do those things efficiently, right? So that's a big part of that. You will also, like, when we talk about, like, if you want to run an inn and you want to serve some food there,
Yes.
and that inn has kind of an area of influence around it. And if you go hunting, you eat some food in the inn, you go out and have hunting, you get this inn influence.
You have to
and
cook stuff
That's one of the
to be able to
key
sell it,
business mechanics, actually, is that area buff that comes with particular business establishments on freeholds. You know, taverns are one example that we've used, and that food that you just described, giving a buff when in proximity to that freehold. So if you're hunting in an area, you know, your real estate location is actually something in the game.
Right.
Yeah, that exists.
And then also, like, in terms of, like, if you have a freehold, that means you're a citizen, right? And if you're a citizen, you get certain advantages over other people who are a part of that node. So, so yeah, I mean, it gives you all sorts of stuff.
I
It's
see
not just cosmetic.
someone in chat named Cameron. Oh, Cameron.
Cameron. It's okay.
Has a question he's been posing a few times. He says, can you guys touch on a little bit what you want naval combat to be like in AOC? It's been a while since we've touched on that. Yeah, it has been a while. I think it would be cool to kind of touch on it a little bit. I mean,
Sure.
obviously...
It's a long time from now.
It's okay. Yeah, no, for sure. It is a while from now, obviously. But the ideas behind, you know, what we want to accomplish in naval combat is, obviously, we want classes of ships that exist, right? And those classes will have a different amount of material requirements in order to construct those in a dry dock space, right, from land. One of the key components we talked about, and I talked about it on a couple of weeks ago, one of the streams I remember, is that if you win a battle at sea, you know, we don't want the ability for the opposing team to just be able, that lost the battle, to respawn their ships out in the middle of the water. That never really felt good to me in the games that I played that have had, sea-based battles available. Instead, there should be a penalty where they have to respawn from land and then come back out
to a harbor.
and go to harbor. Exactly.
What if you're like out in the middle of nowhere, you just swim back?
Yeah, right. Or you respawn when you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be something, you know, that we think is pivotal to when it comes to rewarding a person for successfully winning a combat.
We want those combats to feel like there is an end to it, right? Like, it's not just this, I'm respawning, and then when I get bored, I stop, right?
Yes.
It should be like I won this battle,
Yes.
Or we won this battle.
And then the other thing about, you know, the ships that you build in dry dock is we want you to be able to constantly be upgrading that ship, to be introducing new components to it, perhaps new materials, reinforcing the hull, you know, upgrading the weapon systems, all of those systems. Your dry dock will become kind of the place where you can always resummon that dry dock and add new components to it, right, to make it stronger and better. It'll maintain the same class, right, same schematic and whatnot, but you'll reconstitute the ship and refit it basically with better material or better systems
as you discover them.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, we got a few more here. I think we've got 3 more, and we'll try to get through these. Unknown System Error wants to know, since freehold skins were part of the package, how will those integrate into the new plan? I think we already talked about that, which is...
Yeah. So
yeah.
the cosmetics you buy are of its own thing. They're a package deal. So you're not going to be able to necessarily customize those things. It's just the other kind of more generic,
So
generified,
you would put that on a
non-monetized
building,
stuff.
and then it would now look like that. Our next question is from Risky Move, wants to know, buildings usually are located next to roads. Do you already have plans on how a node road network will be made? Going deeper into this, is there any plan on how to connect different nodes with roads?
Yes. No, roads are a fun, difficult to solve problem that we have a good plan for. Where you have a node, there is no roads by itself, right? You got another node over here, and it's like, okay, there's a road, there's a node there. I'm going to, it's, let's say, a level 3 node. I'll get a little dirt path, right? And as the nodes upgrade, that path upgrades too. And as more nodes kind of grow around it, that network creates roads between there.
We even have a system for bridges too. So if there's a river or waterway in between, it'll create a bridge too.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we do have a plan for roads. We think roads are important. It's kind of like one of the fundamental things that civilization provides to the world is linking up different communities, right? And the idea that, you know, all roads lead to Rome is a very classical
And roads also have a very specific mechanic when it comes to traversal for caravans specifically, right? And caravans have systems in place that allow them to be better not road friendly if need be. Right. And that's kind of the more frontiersy kind of caravans that you'll probably have.
So you choose your caravan based on like the path that you're going to take.
Exactly. You know, if you're running a path from metropolis to metropolis, you're going to have these perfect roads the entire way. You may choose not to incorporate the specific material, the specific
like off-roading material,
wheel recipes for that caravan per se. You might focus then again on, like, you know, armor for the highwaymen that you may encounter.
Because you know you're going to be on a road, and those highwaymen
your
know
goal
you're
will
going to
be
be
speed,
there.
right? Speed and armor
and buff.
Yeah. I'm also really excited for whenever we do start adding like the little details of when a node is building up to the next stage, seeing little road workers like on the street. Oh, it's so cute. Now we've got our last question here from Twitch chat, which is from Liat, and they want to know, how are you going to prevent every square inch of the map covered by freeholds? We're aware you played Arcade and you've seen the housing development areas and how they can be a Tetris nightmare.
Oh yeah.
How will freeholds look in Ashes?
You know,
there are a lot of games who've done that.
Part of the reason why I wanted to avoid having designated housing areas was because of that Tetris ugliness that just existed in these like track home developments in Arcade, right? That was really not good. So, you know, from the onset, you know, the idea was to make it more freehold.
Well done, Steven.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll be here all day. No,
yes. So, I mean, and the reason for that is because obviously we want it to be more incorporated in the environment, more immersive in that sense. So 480 square kilometers for a map is relatively large. I mean, it's a big area available. So there's going to be considerable space between freeholds, I believe. But if people want to place their freeholds together with friends and whatnot, you know, they'll be able to do that, and perhaps a little hamlet will form. You know,
right?
And that's kind of cool. Yeah, exactly.
And also keep in mind that freeholds need a node to live. So not every square inch of the world cannot be filled with freeholds, because there will be some designated wilderness areas based on what nodes have developed.
Yeah, because there can only be 5 metropolises too. Keep that in mind.
And if people, you know, purposefully construct their freeholds to look ugly and abrasive, then a giant sandal will just come out of the sky and smash the house and then move on. I'm just kidding.
Now I kind of want GMs to have a giant.
I'm gonna drop the sandal on you.
We have talked about every patch hiding a sandal somewhere, though.
We have every patch hidden a sandal somewhere.
This is
true.
Even in Apocalypse, and no one has found the sandal. Yet. Also, I have a question regarding, just a follow up. So, in the Underrealm, can people build freeholds there too? Since there can be 5.
If there's nodes down there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nodes. Okay. Cool. Good to know. There you go. That would be really cool, because that area is really awesome looking.
You're going to want to have some lights.
What do you mean? It has like bioluminescent lights.
No, I know. The creatures do. The plants do.
It'd be like watching Game of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly right. I can't see anything.
I want little bioluminescent
No
lamps next to my bed and stuff like that. Steven.
What? That's
careful with it. No, stop it.
What?
He dies in the first season. Give me a break. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Sorry, everybody. If you haven't watched it yet, I blame him.
Oh no.
So thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed our live stream. We have a lot of good fun with this, and we know that we had a lot of streams already this month, but we wanted to also do one on our official channel too, and to give you all a little teaser for a video. We'll have that building technology video up right after this. I'm going to go put up an article and put the video out live, so you can go check it out and watch it and repeat it over and over again, and pause it and screenshot it, and then conspiracy theory, because I know that's what you all do. So follow us over there on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ashesofcreation. And you can follow us on all of the other places at Ashes of Creation. It feels wonderful to say that. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, obviously right here on Twitch. If you want to keep up to date with us on Twitch, make sure you hit that follow button, the little heart, so that we can make sure you all are notified whenever we go live next. And I guess kind of wrapping things up, thank you from all of us, and thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys
Have a
next
good
time.
one.